All right, good morning to you. This is the Wednesday, January 4th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Most of the video is going to focus on the potential coming up for some snow and winter weather across the Carolinas, but I want to get into some other items first here with you. There's a look at the Greensboro Tower camera this morning. Some fog that's continuing to gradually erode away. Same story down in Charlotte. That fog has been eroding. Still, there's some, though some in place. You see some of those low clouds kind of hanging around the Queen City, cutting this video during the 6 a.m. hour this morning. And yesterday we had that wedge that was very stubborn around the region, but it continues to erode away. And it will be a little bit of still a milder setup today before this colder air arrives. There's your temperatures during the 6 a.m. hour. And look at this, off to the northwest of us, down to 11 in Chicago, 20 in St. Louis. And boy, look at this, 15 degrees below zero in International Falls, 14 below Fargo, North Dakota, 6 below in Pierre, South Dakota, Dodge City, Kansas at 6. That's brutally cold air, and we will have the coldest air this season, regardless of precipitation thus far, coming up over the weekend. A few rain showers kicking over to snow showers in the mountain areas as this northwesterly flow and some colder air begins to bleed in. But the timing of this is such that I think we have a relatively mild weather setup today, but then notice that colder air definitely beginning to take over for tonight. Now, as we get into the day tomorrow, it will be a chillier day. Here's that low pressure that's going to be our main weather player Friday into Saturday, taking shape in the northwestern Gulf by late tomorrow. Your temperatures on the chilly side tomorrow. And then we get out to Friday. Now, this is the RPM modeling, Futurecast, and it is very quick with the arrival of the precipitation. And in fact, it is an in and out deal on Friday with the precipitation, kind of a milder setup. For the time being, I have tossed this idea out. I don't think that is the correct idea. I'll show you some other models in just a second. For instance, here's the European model. I'm still leaning kind of in this direction here, low pressure for the northern Gulf and then off of the Carolina coast, spreading a nice shield of precipitation up our way. Now, the GFS has been a little bit further to the south now with the precipitation shield, but it is slowly trending north and northwest. You'll see that clearly here in just a second. Snow totals from the European model look like that. Pretty good footprint of snow over a good chunk of North Carolina, especially the further north and northwest you go. GFS, certainly the footprint of snow has been further to the south. And there's the latest run. This is the 6Z run of the GFS snow totals, and that has ticked further to the northwest. And again, I'm going to be able to show you this very clearly here. Watch the trend on the GFS model here over the past several runs. All right, this is the last 4 runs of the GFS. And notice we have that snow accumulation footprint working to the northwest. Now you combine that with what the latest, let me see if I can find it here. Where did I put that? Here we go. Here's the latest Canadian snow totals map, and that's what it looks like. And again, I showed you the European just a moment, but there's a general footprint of snow from the European. And it lines up, again, pretty well with the Canadian, a little bit further to the northwest overall than the Canadian. But certainly, again, if you kind of look at the Canadian, you look at the European, and then you look at the trend here on the GFS over the last 4 runs. Considering all that, here's what I'm going with right now. I'm not going to mention specific accumulation amounts yet. It's too early. But the chances of 1 inch of snow, I think, have come up for northwestern half of South Carolina and much of North Carolina to at least 30%. And I think now places including parts of the Charlotte Triad and Triangle viewing areas, maybe up to now 50% possibilities for at least 1 inch of snow. And I'll continue to adjust this moving forward. Now, let me show you what happens aloft here with the European computer model. Let's see, there's the GFS. Let me grab the European here. There's the European now. A nice separate piece of energy with that low pressure near the Pacific Northwest, and that's the reason it's kind of a stronger scenario. And then as that gets into the deep south, that's a pretty good looking little system as it swings into the Tennessee Valley. And so you get a nice blossoming of the precipitation on the European on the northwestern flank of this system. So there is Friday evening, overnight Friday night into Saturday morning. The northwestern flank of the system, due to the dynamics aloft and pretty sharp system expanding. And then there goes Saturday early afternoon, and then Saturday evening the system is pulling away. Now again, the GFS model in general has been a little bit more suppressed. Let me step you through the 0Z run, and the 6Z run was similar. It just trended ever so slightly to the northwest. This is Friday evening and then Friday evening into the overnight hours, and there is Saturday daybreak, and then there's the system kind of eases out to sea from there. So let me see here. I'll show you some snow totals. Again, this was a 0Z run, and I grabbed the 6Z run here. Again, there's the 0Z run of the GFS. There's the 6Z. You see it just ticking to the northwest in terms of accumulation potential. Now, could that further south solution be correct? Absolutely, it could. And you'll look at the various members of the European Computer Model Ensemble and the GFS Computer Model Ensemble, and it's kind of boom or bust. You have some members, individual models within that ensemble that produce tremendous heavy snow amounts in some instances, or very little at all, as the system kind of stays weak and off to the south. Again, I'm leaning my direction more toward what you've seen here, and again, I'll show you that accumulation potential map that I just showed you a moment ago, maybe up to around 50% or so chances of at least an inch of accumulation now for a good chunk of the Piedmont. This is finally the UK Met, rather. It is a little weaker with this most recent run, but that's close enough that I think that's still a pretty good little snow event for parts of the interior Carolinas. Again, a very challenging forecast. One more thing to show you. This is the European. The white line is the actual European operational model. We're looking at heights of 500 millibars. The thing to take from this is that overall, in 72 hours, pretty decent agreement here between the European operational and its ensembles. And so I kind of think we're seeing the GFS trend toward what we're seeing more with the accumulation ideas, the Canadian and the European especially. So we'll see. A lot more questions and answers. And again, we'll continue to refine the forecast, but that's my thinking as of right now. All right, that is it for the latest edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and God bless.